You have no idea how many failures, mistakes I've made along the way. Weeks that I wasn't on track. Guys, the first like 3 months of my journey, or 4 months or 5 months, I was weighing rice wrong. I was actually eating way more than I was supposed to.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Macro Hour with Nikkiey, co-founder of WarriorBabe. And on this podcast, we talk about mindset, methodologies, and tactics that will help you lose body fat, build muscle, be strong, and feel insanely confident. I am your host, Nikkiey, and welcome to this special episode bringing you guys live into one of our VIP coaching calls. The 1,000 plus women inside of this call are all working towards becoming stronger, more confident versions of themselves through one-on-one coaching with WarriorBabe. And WarriorBabe's mission, if you don't already know it, is to help 100,000 women plus go beyond that through sustainable, realistic fitness methodologies, achieve their desired body composition no matter what their age is. And each day, we get closer and closer to hitting that 100,000 number. So I hope this live training helps you, and maybe if you aren't already a WarriorBabe, then you will be one soon. Enjoy.
How many of you guys hate failure? Just like being honest. Yeah. How many of you guys are trying to learn to work with it and realize that like we aren't, because I mean, we're warrior babes here. Like shit, we get shit done. We know how to get shit done. We make shit happen. We're go-getters, right? But like the littlest hiccup, I don't know, like even when I coach clients, they like wanted to hit zeros and macros across the board. And I was like, oh, and they thought that if they didn't, they were failing. And I was like, oh man, right? Like that go-getter type. Or like if you mess up on macros one day, it's like, damn, like, I messed up. Like, I failed. Or like the 80-day challenge. Maybe some of you guys have not had, I love that y'all are posting your vulnerability in the group where I see some X's. So you guys are honest with yourself, which is awesome. And I don't want you guys to look at those days as failures because I see you guys picking right back up. And that's what it's all about. But maybe there's some of you that have like had a whole week. There's X's across the board on all of your tracking devices. And you're just like, damn, man, I'm just defeated in the failure sense. So I want to speak to those guys tonight. I want to help you guys in that sense. I want you guys to, so what? If like the last couple of weeks have been a challenge for you guys on this challenge, pick it back up tomorrow. Start at your day one tomorrow. Who cares if there's all these X's? Like, I just want you guys to, there's so many more days left of this challenge that can put you on the right course, that focusing on, the things that you messed up on is not going to be something that is of supporting to you for the rest of the challenge, right? How many of you guys are excited with this challenge? Is this challenge not fun? It's freaking awesome. And it's just going to keep building. So it's going to get a little bit more challenging, right? All the habits that you guys are going to embed. And that's what's so important, guys. You want to optimize your whole journey here. You want to optimize the sustainability that you guys can create with this lifestyle, make health like just the way of your living and the way of your being, right? I've talked about it with, habits, being the one-off transformations and like getting down to the core of the onion and making it like part of your identity, right? Like that should be something that you guys just strive for, making health, making fitness, making working out, especially for those of you who are 40, 50, 60 years old. Like what matters, it matters right now, what you guys do right now, that's going to serve you when you're like somebody who's 40 years old and isn't working out or eating right is going to be completely different at 70 years old than somebody who is right now, who's working out, eating right, building muscle. Those two people at 70 are going to be completely different. Trust me, guys, I've seen it, right? I've seen it when I worked in the ER. I've seen it with my grandmother. Like I shared that story with you guys when I took care of her. Like I've seen it. Now I see all of you guys. And like, I want you guys are going to be that 70-year-old who is strong as fuck, like, and has a good health. And like the muscle that you guys build along your journey, that is the organ to a sustainable life. That is organ to longevity. So like, that's like totally off topic of what I wanted to talk about tonight, but I want you guys just to realize how important that is. And like what you guys do today, tomorrow, even if you do fail, even if you do mess up, it's like, who cares? Get back on the train tomorrow or the next day, because all the things that you do right now are going to compound over time. And yes, you're going to mess up along the way. And that's what so many people are afraid of, is they're just afraid of failing. And I know I just asked you guys that question. A lot of you guys raised your hand and, when we fail, we're less likely to pick back up or get right back to it. And so that's what I want to talk to tonight. By the end of this call tonight, I want you guys, I hope to provide just like a different and more positive outlook towards failure for all of you guys. Because like failure in this whole journey is like your best friend. Okay. Like first thing that I need you guys all to know, and maybe like if you guys have a notebook or you guys are taking notes, whatever, I always say this, whatever resonates with you, write it down, because that's going to be something that like hits your brain. It's like, I'm going to need to read that tomorrow. So you go and read it and you're like, it hits your brain again. And then you're just like, living in that new, whatever you heard that resonated with you tonight. And it may be just like one little thing that resonates with you personally on all of these calls, right? On the coach's calls, on my call, with your coach's team huddle. It may be just one little golden nugget that you gain from that conversation. So I want you guys to show up, right? Show up to all of those things, immerse yourself in all of the access and resources that you have inside of WarriorBabe. Okay, I'm going to stop going in all of these directions and getting off topic and just get straight into the failure aspect. But what I want you guys first to understand and to know and to write down and be aware of is that like you guys are all here wanting, right? I want you all to have big transformations. I want you to do differently what you're doing now to get to where you want to be with some type of goal with your health and your body. And that big transformation demands a willingness to make mistakes. That big transformation demands a huge willingness, you guys, to make mistakes. AKA, you screw up your macros the first few weeks, or you screwed up on the challenge the first few weeks, or you missed a workout because your day was poorly planned. Like, that's okay. And but an unwillingness to encounter defeat or to counter failure or run into problems eliminates the ability for that big transformation to happen. Does that make sense? So like, if you screw up in your work, if you're in your macros and you're like, oh, this sucks, like an unwillingness to encounter that defeat or like an unwillingness to encounter any type of challenge, it eliminates your ability to have that big transformation. It eliminates your ability to get down, the right trajectory of where you want to go with your health. You're going to encounter these little speed bumps along the way, right? And unless you allow yourself to make mistakes to fail, right? Like if you guys are in this challenge and you're finding it to be struggle or anything along this journey, macros to be a struggle point, right? You have to allow yourself to make mistakes to fail. Because if you don't, you will never have the opportunity to test the limits of what you are truly capable of accomplishing with your body and your own personal mindset. Okay. Like if you don't allow to encounter mistakes, you're never going to reach that, be able to just reach that limit of what you're truly capable of. Okay. You guys have no idea how many failures, mistakes I've made along the way with getting to where I am now. Even speed bumps, weeks that I wasn't on track. Guys, the first 3 months of my journey, or 4 months or 5 months, I was weighing rice wrong. I was actually eating way more than I was supposed to. Does anybody ever do that? Like weigh to cook, or I forget the whole exact, it was kind of a blur, but I just know I did it wrong. And I was eating way more than I was supposed to. And I remember Cheryl also had this happen to her. She was eating way more potatoes or something than she was supposed to, or I don't know. So you're going to encounter mistakes along the way, and it's okay. Since we're talking about the beginning of the journey, to all of the beginners, you have to realize that if you're experiencing at the beginning, no difficulties in understanding how to work macros, or no problems in nailing down your weekly schedule to fit in your workouts. And if you are truly having no difficulties, you're a damn unicorn. Okay. Pat yourself on the back. But okay, if you are new, you should have some difficulty of understanding. I know I did. I had weeks of dude, this is tedious. This is a lot of work. Right. But now it's fucking second nature. And I'm going to touch on that in a second. But for majority of you at the beginning, you are if you're having no difficulties in understanding, no difficulties in understanding how to work your schedule to fit into alignment that's going to work for you, right? It's probably that you are, but you aren't asking maybe the right question to try and understand how you can understand, right? So many people just chalk it up that macros are way too hard. Okay, what's hard about it, right? Oh, well, I just don't have the time in the day to track my macros. Well, how can you make more time? We know that macros is something that's going to support you in understanding portions so much more than just tracking food. Portion sizes, it gets you to your goals. It makes you learn about food that you're putting onto your plate, right? It helps you then educate anybody and everybody around you, your daughters, your son, your kids, your your husband, your aunt, your uncle, your cousins, anybody around you, your friends, right? So like we know it's endpoint. So like instead of chalking it up to difficulty and trying to understand, right? Some people, they at the beginning of their journey, a lot of beginners just chalk it up to saying it's hard. But what they really don't do is they don't try and understand it, right? And if that's the case, this is my whole point here, is that you've leveled off your ability to experience growth, understanding, and achievement, right? Like so many people at the beginning, what I mean by that is that your current level, let's just use like macro tracking and working out and trying to fit it in a schedule as an example, since I'm here and on this topic. But if you guys aren't like seeking understanding or asking enough questions or like taking enough action to where things are uncomfortable for you, or you're trying to learn, right? So let me paint this is this making sense? It's making sense to me, but I'm going to make sure it's making sense to you. Okay. So like, I'm going to paint a story then too, for you guys, like the beginning of my journey. When I was trying to learn macronutrients and understand macronutrients, man, it took me like literally probably 45 minutes to an hour just to track one meal. I'm not kidding. Right? I'm not kidding. Like that, right? You guys have experienced that too. You're like, okay. Right. You have to dedicate the time to do it. But like now, for those of you guys, I promise you, if you're there now and you're feeling a little frustrated and you want to be where like anybody who's been doing it for months on end and years on end, you can do it in 3 minutes or less, 30 seconds. I promise you, like that shit just happens automatic. But like at the beginning of the journey, right? If I didn't ask questions to try and understand it a little bit more to optimize how it's going to work for me, the system, right? I've talked about systems and goals and all that jazz before, right? So like I tried to learn the system a little bit better. I tried to understand how this could work for me. How could it work for my busy schedule? How can I make it in alignment? I asked questions, right? Instead, what usually happens at the beginning, if somebody's having no difficulties in understanding, they're usually not asking the right questions. And so instead, this is what happens. They say it's too hard. I give up, or I messed up today or this week and I give up, right? A lot of women do that. A lot of women, if you're in this challenge, you guys, it's like, damn, this is way too hard. Instead of trying to be like, think differently, change a narrative. How can I make this support me now? How can I get better sleep? How can I get the hours allotted for sleep? Shut off Netflix, shut off your phone, put the phone down, turn it upside down, put it in the other room, lock it. I don't know, do something that you got to do where you're not laying in bed and it's right there and no shit, you can't sleep because you got this light beaming into your face.
Hey, just want to drop a huge appreciation to you guys listening to the show. It means a lot. I hope you guys are enjoying it and there's so much more to come with it. If you are enjoying it, hit the subscribe button. I'd appreciate that tons. And also, it would help this podcast reach others who need to hear these messages too. Thanks so much, guys. Let's get back to the show.
That's the way to optimize your system. Put the phone down, put it in the other room, and then go to bed. Say, like what I've been doing is like, and I shared this with you guys before, and it hasn't changed. It's like 9 o'clock, no matter what I'm doing, everything's off. And that's like a discipline. That's a discipline. But like everything's off. It doesn't happen every day, but majority of my days it does. I turn it off, I turn the TV off, I put Maverick in his bed, and I go to sleep. Okay. So like, instead of being like, this is way too hard to try and get these amount of sleep, these hours, yada, yada, yada. How can you make it better? What can you change differently? How can it work for you? Because that's that change right there. It's not that you're failing. It's like, no. What can I just make better right now? And then work on that week after week after week. Now you may hit a bump in the road the next week and for a couple of days where you're falling back into old habits, but then kick yourself in the butt and be like, okay, here we are. I see all these X's on my tracker. I'm going to go back to what got me all the checkpoints. You know what I want? You know what I mean? So be prepared and open to confusion and failure at the beginning. All I'm saying is like with this challenge, you're trying to figure out how to get more sleep. You're trying to figure out how to understand macros. If you're new, you're trying to get the workout in and set in for all of the days that you have scheduled for with your coach. Be prepared to having to move your schedule around to make it work for you, right? Be okay and open to confusion, to failure, asking questions, asking your coach questions, and then taking enough action to where like okay, like, yeah, it's taking me an hour to track my macros, but like, okay, this sucks. I'm uncomfortable. This blows. Like everything else is kind of like, it's not getting my attention right now, but like, I need to get this down because it's going to serve me for the long term. Okay, here I go. 1 hour, one day. Next day, it's 45 minutes. Cool. I'm getting faster. I'm optimizing the system. It's working for me. It's not failing. It's like, I'm optimizing my system. 45 minutes. Awesome. Cool. Faster, right? Treat it like a game. Right? Okay, now it's 30 minutes because I've been doing this for 3 weeks. Whoo, let's go, getting faster. You know what I mean? It's not failing. It's like, okay, I asked my coaches questions. I'm taking these actions. I'm realizing where I can speed up the process. And now here I am. I'm just going to use my example. 7, 8 years later, and I can do it with my eyes closed, sleeping. Right? And even women that are in here that have been doing it for a year to 3 years, y'all can do this in a flash of a light, right? Right, Jessica? Yeah, I see you shaking your head. Yeah, right? Okay. So, and that's part of you guys opening yourself up to a new system, a new process, a new methodology. If you've never done macros before, this is you opening yourself up to this new system and this new process, new methodology to understand that has potential to deliver exponential performance gains. You know that macros has the potential to not only give you exponential performance gains, exponential results, but like so many other things. I always say it's a skill set that will serve you for the rest of your life. It is a skill set that will serve you for the rest of your life. You ain't going to be tracking for the rest of your damn life. Trust me. You're going to get to a point of your journey where it's like, oh, damn, I'm on autopilot, like I eat the same stuff every single day, or like I know what this plate of food is made up of. And so I roughly know that I'm at like 100 grams of protein. I can eyeball that this is 3 ounces. I know that that's like 21 grams of protein, 25 grams of protein. And you just start eyeballing shit. And that's where the glory happens. It's like, you're like on autopilot with your body, on autopilot with your life, you're on autopilot with food, you have a better relationship with food, you're understanding it. So, and like, I know the vets can speak up here too. Like, I think it's safe to say the vets, you guys can speak up here with in relation to macros and workouts. Like, it seems like when I just shared it with you guys, like at first, like things are harder. Like, how many of you guys are new to macros? Wow. I only have one screen. I'm not flipping between screens, but okay, cool. I see you guys raising, putting the emojis up. Dope. Okay. And then vets, like you guys can speak, like everyone here, just be prepared for the sort of development to take place along your journey. No matter what level you are at, things seem harder, no matter where you are at along your journey. They seem worse. They seem harder before they get easier and they get better, right? Kind of alluded to that already, that like the beginning of your journey, macros can take a long time. Years later, it can be like just gloriful. Is that even a word? Gloriful. I have no idea, but it sounds great. Okay. So just be prepared, guys. No matter what level you are at, problems, mistakes, failures, they belong in the process. They belong in the process. They are a part of the equation that produces the results that you want. Everyone's going to use gloriful now. It's a word now, my new favorite word. Okay. So they are every one of those things, problems, mistakes, failures. It's a part of the equation that's going to produce the results that you guys want. They are not proof that you should give up. So like just because something is hard doesn't mean you give it. You guys are warrior babes. We don't give up in the first sight of something hard. We don't give up in the first sight of something uncomfortable. We don't give up in the first sight of like, if it's going to take time, it's going to take time because you guys know the payoff is coming. Right? Vets can speak to that more because you guys have experienced the payoff. For newbies, the payoff is coming. I promise you. That's in tomorrow's podcast. If you guys want to listen to that one, I'm going to speak to like, don't in the sacrifice. And, you know, people think sacrificing their time, they're sacrificing all of this work and they're sacrificing going out with their friends. And it's like, no, like you're just making an investment into your future self. I've talked about this before to some of the vets that are here, right? Everything that you guys do now, whether it's taking up time or it's, you know, taking up going out with your friends, it's an investment into your future self. Okay. So along the way, you're going to have problems. You're going to have mistakes. You're going to have failures. They're not proof that you should give up. Right? Right. Can I just see like a bunch in the chat box right now? Like, right. Amen. Yes. Right. So there was this example that I wanted to share with you guys, or a quote that I saw somewhere. I forget where I saw it, but it says, if you send a rocket to the moon, about 90% of the time it's off course. So basically it fails its way to the moon by continually making mistakes and correcting them. Is that just not like, what? So if you send a rocket to the moon, about 90% of its time it's off course. 90% of the time it's off course. So basically it fails its way to the moon by continually making mistakes and correcting them. How like comforting is that? Like that you, like, I don't want you guys to fail 90% of the time, but like, you know what I mean? Like you're going to encounter failure. Like we all know at the beginning of a journey, you're going to feel like you're on cloud 9 because going for the body composition change or losing X amount of fat is like so super exciting, right? But then all the hard reality hits, like all the problems start happening, all the failures start happening, all the mistakes start happening, and then may slap you in the face. And at this point, your like uncertainties and lack of belief can tempt you guys to like turn around yourself, right? If you guys are in this challenge, you're like, damn it, I failed. But guys, listen up. The most crucial point in the process, that's the most crucial point when you fail. Do not give up. Failure belongs there. It's a sign of progress. Okay. It's a sign of progress. So are we all going to am I making this more positive around failure for you guys? Like I asked in the beginning, sometimes we just want to be so good with like everything that we do. And like one little hiccup doesn't mean that you failed, or like, you're learning about macros and you messed up. It doesn't mean that you failed. Right. Cause like, if you allow it to, right, the stress you may experience could easily set you back into like the comfort zone, into all your old habits, back into the trap of like what's familiar for you, right? And like that's where it's really hard. And it's like that elongated time you're going to get to your destination. If you just allow failure to keep owning you, essentially, you're just turning it into a positive here. Make failure your friend. Cool, I messed up today. Now, let me just like put this in there. If you're messing up 7 days straight or 14 days straight or 21 days straight consistently over time, it's like, check yourself. Check yourself. Like, okay, go down to the nitty gritty. Why are we here? Why is this happening? Ask yourself some hard questions. Why am I messing up? Why am I not following through? Why am I not getting my workouts done? Why am I not hitting my macros? Right. But the struggle, you guys, if you guys are in this where I felt like I needed to just like speak to this tonight, the struggle should give you guys strength. Failure doesn't mean that you're defeated. Okay. It's like the soreness involved in developing and growing muscles. The difficulties are just evidence that you are learning and that you are moving forward. Okay. So moving forward, don't interpret problems or failures or breakdowns or mistakes as proof that you guys should quit. So if you're in this challenge and like you're not where you want to be, it's like, cool, tomorrow's a new day. Let's pick it up. Let's rock and roll. Let's track my macros. Let's put it in an hour's worth. If you're new and you're trying to get it down, let's set my schedule for the week. If one workout falls off, it's okay. You got a whole next week to try and get them all in when you're supposed to. You know what I mean? And then don't quit. Instead, just take them as like, okay, this is evidence of growth. This is evidence of improvement. Really, whenever you guys have any types of like you're failing, it's like, just seriously ask your question to yourself. Like, okay, what can I do differently right now? And like, you're going to get the answer, and it's up to you to just act on that answer. You're going to have the answer of all the things that you should be doing. So start doing those things. You know what I mean? Go crush it. We're warrior babes. We win. We turn all of these things into a positive. Don't ever feel defeated. Don't ever feel like you're a failure. Don't ever feel like you're making mistakes. It's a part of your growth. You're progressing. What can you do differently? And go do it. Go win. Go win, you guys.
Real quick, the only ask I could ever have of you guys is to help spread the word so we can help more women lose body fat, build muscle, reach their goals, and feel insanely confident. And the only way we can do that is if you rate, review, and share this podcast. So the single thing I ask for you to do is if you could leave a review. It will take you 10 seconds, and it will mean the absolute world to me and may change the world of someone else.